Morning, Wednesday, June 2nd. This morning I want to talk about the great state of Texas, the Lone Star State, which is in the news these days because of the oppressive voting rights law that it's trying to put through. But I don't want to talk about that because that has been stalled because the Democratic state legislators walked out, and so they did not have a quorum to take a vote on it. So it's not done yet. And the state legislature has to start over from scratch. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about something that is so nonsensical that it has to be brought to the fore. So I'll start with the ruling that came down from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission on Friday. The EEOC, in a statement posted on its website explaining its updated guidance, said that employees can be required to be vaccinated before they appear in the workplace, as long as employers comply with the reasonable accommodation provisions of the Americans with Disabilities Acts and other laws. So the EEOC has said it's okay to demand that you be vaccinated before you show up for work. And employers can only take this action if they themselves stand by the rules and laws that are in place. And that is specifically the Americans with Disabilities Act and possibly some other laws. They also said that only 9% of the 700 employers that they canvassed said that they were considering mandating vaccines. That's the beginning of the story. Now I go on to part 2. This is the headline. Health workers sue Texas hospital over mandatory COVID vaccination. And the workers are claiming the mandate violates the Nuremberg Code. So when I hear the word Nuremberg Code, that brings up memories of the Holocaust. And so very subtly, this group of hospital employees are talking about the same horrific deed that I spoke about in yesterday's rant. So a group of 117 workers at a Texas hospital filed a lawsuit in state court against their employers demanding that they be vaccinated. This was reported in the Washington Post. And the hospital is the Houston Methodist Hospital. And they said in the lawsuit that their employers' compulsory immunization requirement violated the Nuremberg Code. Now, that's a set of standards that were designed after World War II to prevent experimentation on human subjects without their consent. And that gets back to what the Germans were doing in the concentration camps. So these hospital employees are implying that mandatory vaccination is an experimentation on their bodies. Now, the health and safety of all the people that would come in contact with these hospital workers doesn't count in their mind. It's only that their poor body will be experimented on. He also said that the hospital presented them with a choice. They get the vaccine or they get fired. And they claim that's a violation of state law. And they, of course, asked the court to bar the Houston Medical Center from firing unvaccinated staffers. Well, I don't think they should even be in court. I think that case should have been thrown out in the first place because this is not experimentation. This is a safety issue. And if these hospital staffers don't understand that this is a safety issue, then they don't belong working in the hospital. Their job is to save lives and to create a healthy environment to do that. And if they're not vaccinated, that environment is not a healthy environment. And the funny thing is that this action on the part of these hospital workers, and maybe on the part of the hospital also, took place right after the EEOC said that it was okay for employers to demand vaccinated employees. Oh, the tricks and things that have been put forth to get people to get vaccinated. They've been giving out lottery tickets worth $1 million, and several people who got vaccinated won those lotteries. And they've done a whole bunch of other things to get people to go get vaccinated. And in spite of all of that, there are still only 9% of the companies around that are willing to enforce this rule. Even though the health of the nation is at stake, we still have to try to trick people into getting vaccinated. And while saying that they're going to get fired is a drastic step, but I agree with the hospital. This is a hospital. This is not an office or something where there are a limited amount of people that you're dealing with. Dealing with people who are sick and vulnerable. So you must take the utmost caution. And if the hospital deems that the utmost caution is a fully vaccinated staff, then they are well within their rights. And it's unfortunate if you think that you are immortal and that you don't need to be vaccinated. And if you feel that way, then you should take your punishment like a man or a woman. So I lose my job, but I stood up for my rights. I didn't let the Nuremberg Code get the best of me. I stood there and I wouldn't let them screw around with my body. So I am very proud. I stand here and I tell you, you are violating, again, with the rights. It's a shame that any medical professional would put their rights ahead of the lives of their patients. But we're seeing strange things happening all around the country. So it's not surprising that we have a group in Texas that invokes the Nuremberg Code to avoid getting vaccinated. And I leave you with those thoughts, and I'll see you in the morning. Bye.